Hello and welcome to our tutorial on building custom UIs in Worlds. Every compelling game experience needs fundamental UI elements, health bars that update in real time, interactive inventory screens, and scoreboards that all the players can see. These essential game components are all built with custom UIs, and today I'm going to show you exactly how to create them. Whether you're building for VR or focusing on mobile and desktop experiences, custom UIs are essential for creating intuitive, responsive interactions that take your worlds to the next level. I'm Andy, and in this tutorial, we'll explore how to create dynamic interactive user interfaces that can transform how players experience your world. This knowledge is particularly valuable for mobile and desktop experiences where traditional VR interactions might not be available, but the principles apply across all the platforms. For this tutorial, we will cover the following: fundamentals of custom UIs, showing you the essential components and how to set up your basic first panel; player interaction capabilities, which demonstrate how to create clickable buttons and dynamic content, and how to create personalized experiences with player-specific panels that each user sees differently. This tutorial assumes some familiarity with TypeScript and Worlds APIs, building on concepts from our previous scripting tutorials. Let's dive in and start building. A well-designed user interface is crucial for creating engaging experiences for players in your world's creation. Custom UI is a system that makes it very simple to create customizable and interactive UI panels in your world. Some common use cases are health bars, inventory screens, heads-up displays, score counters, and menu systems. These interfaces can enhance gameplay and improve user experience across VR, mobile, and desktop platforms. Now, there are two main components to custom UI in Worlds. The first is the custom UI gizmo. This defines the transform and behaviors of the panel, like size and position in the world, whether it follows the player or stays fixed, and visual properties like the opacity. The second is TypeScript APIs. These define content elements, text, images, buttons, style properties like colors and layouts, and interaction effects and behaviors. Understanding both components is essential for creating effective user interfaces. Now, let's set up a basic custom UI panel together. So, in my world, first I'm going to go to the Build menu. I'm going to choose Gizmos, and I'm going to find the Custom UI gizmo. I'm going to click and drag that into my world. Now, one thing to bear in mind with the Custom UI gizmo is it will face in the direction that the blue arrow is pointing. So currently, the content will be pointing in that direction. Let's spin this round. I'm going to press E, I'm going to hold Control, and I'm going to rotate this cube so that the blue arrow is now pointing the spawn point. Okay, so I've added my custom UI gizmo. Let's also create a script. Before I create a custom UI script, I need to make sure that I've turned on my custom UI TypeScript APIs. So I'm going to click on the settings cog, I'm going to choose API, and I'm going to make sure that next to horizon/UI, this is toggled on, and then click apply. Now I can create my custom UI script. I'm going to call it Andy's custom panel, and then hit enter. Now I'm going to click the three dots, and I'm going to open it in the external editor. Here we go. This is my custom UI script. Now, it's currently exactly the same as a normal component, so let's change it so that it's a custom UI script. I'm going to delete hz.component from this line, class Andy's custom panel extends HC component. I'm going to delete that, and I'm going to put in UI component. If I partially type UI component and then press enter, it automatically imports UI component from the Horizon UI APIs that we set up a minute ago. You'll see there's a red line now under the name of your class, and this is because a UI component requires certain functions to be present in the script. The one that this is causing an error about is initialize UI. And again, if I partially type this and then press enter, you'll see that it will automatically generate the rest of that function. And again, we've got another error. And this red line is highlighting underneath UI node. And that's because this function is asking us to return something that is of type UI node. That's pretty straightforward. We can do return, and then I'm going to partially type view with a capital V. You'll see that it comes up here. I'm going to press enter, and I can see that it's now been added to this growing list of components that we're pulling in from the Horizon UI APIs. Next to view, I'll have bracket and parentheses, and then press enter. In here, I can customize my view. A view is essentially the panel that I will be displaying on our custom UI gizmo. So the properties that I need to address here, I need to add some children, which are all of the UI nodes within that view. This needs a colon and then square bracket because it's an array of UI nodes. Okay, so let's save that. So within the children, I'm going to add a text. And just like with the view, I'm going to partially type that and then press enter. I should see it appear up here. And then I'm going to add a bracket, open parenthesis, and press enter. This is giving me an error. And it's because text is missing from this UI node, which requires a text property. I'll add a colon, and then I'll type something in quote marks and give it some kind of string. So here I'm going to put in Andy's custom panel is here. With an exclamation mark, of course. Okay, so I'm going to save this. I'm going to return to my world. And the next thing is to click on the custom UI gizmo I have in my world, and just in the properties panel on the right hand side, I'm going to attach my new script, Andy's custom panel, to that gizmo. Now, when I preview it, and if I press E, when I'm looking at the panel, I can see Andy's custom panel is here. It's kind of hard to read. It's in white text on a transparent background. So you might actually find that you can't see yours. If you're finding that you can't see it, just make sure that it's facing in the right direction. So the blue arrow points in the direction that the content's visible. And it might also be worth going back to our script and adding some style so that we can see it easily. So after the text property of the text UI node, I'm going to put a comma and I'm going to put style, and I'm going to set the color of this text. So style, colon, open parenthesis, and I'm going to type color, colon, and you can pass in a string here of a specific color, or you can pass in a normal like color hex or something like that. Also, after the children, I'm going to add some style to the panel itself, to the view itself. So after the end square bracket, I'm going to put a comma and then style, colon, open parenthesis. Let's put a background color here. I'm going to put the background color white. So black on white should be pretty visible. Let's go back to our world, save the script, go back to the world, wait for the script to compile. Let's preview the world, and there we go. So I just had to wait for the script to compile, and there we go. So Andy's custom panel is here. You can configure how you want the custom UI panel to display in the visual and interaction group within the properties panel of that custom UI gizmo. This simple panel isn't interactive yet, but it's the foundation for everything else we'll build. One of the distinct benefits of custom UIs is the ability to respond to player inputs. Clicks, scrolling, hovering over buttons allow for more immersive and responsive interactions than traditional mesh buttons that were previously only available in worlds. Interactive UIs can transform your world from a static experience to one where players can actively engage with content, making selections, triggering actions, and receiving feedback. In worlds, there are two fundamental interaction elements: Pressable, this element allows you to create buttons that detect which player is interacting with the UI through callbacks, generate feedback when the button state changes like hovered, entered, exit, pressed, clicked, and released, and trigger actions in your world when activated. We also have bindings, and these make your UI dynamic rather than static. It allows you to update content during runtime, like changing health displays or collected items. You can modify the appearance based on conditions, such as changing a button's color when hovered, and you can connect UI elements to game variables and events. Understanding how to leverage these building blocks opens up countless possibilities for player interaction. Let's put this knowledge into practice by building a custom UI that changes color when a button is pressed. First, we'll start with our basic panel that we had before. Now let's go back into our script. Okay, so the first thing that we want to do is make a pressable button. Now, as we said before, we have our view here, which has children. Our view is our panel, and the children are the UI elements within that panel. So far, we only have a text. After the end bracket, let's put a comma, and we're going to add a pressable here. So I'm going to partially type pressable, hit enter, and just like with text in view, open bracket, open parenthesis, and press enter again. Okay, so I've added a pressable to my view. A pressable can have children. It's essentially like another view where we can set things up very similar. So we're going to have children, we're going to have a colon, then open square bracket because this is an array of other UI elements. And I'm just going to add a text to this. The text is going to have a text property, and that's going to be a string that says press me. Okay, the pressable element, I'm going to add some style to this so that we know which part of the panel is pressable. So I'm going to type style, colon, open parenthesis, and let's add a background color to this that is different from the panel. So I'm going to add green. Okay, I've saved my script. Let's go back to the world builder and just wait for the scripts to compile. And let's check that we've got a pressable element on our UI now. Cool, so we've got Andy's custom UI panel is here, and press me. So the next thing we can do is in the definition of our pressable UI component, let's add a callback function for when a player clicks on the button. So after style, I'm going to add a comma, and I'm going to type on click, colon, and this is a callback. So open close brackets, equals, greater than, parenthesis, hit enter. And here is where we can add some code that will execute when a player clicks the button. In here for now, I'm going to type console.log, open brackets, you pressed the button, and the colon at the end. Okay, let's save our script, go back to the world, wait for the script to compile. Okay, I'm going to clear my console so that it's really obvious when this is working. Enter preview mode. Let's press E to focus on our panel and click the button, and hey, there it is. It says you pressed the button, which is exactly what I hoped would happen. So I'm really pleased it did that. Okay, so we've got a basic console log when we press the button. We can also change the color of the rest of the panel, and we're going to do this with a binding. So a binding is essentially a property that we create that when it updates the entire panel, or it updates whatever it is associated with in the panel. So let's start with private, and this is going to be called color binding, colon. I'm going to partially type binding and then hit enter so that it gets added to my list up here. And then the less than symbol, because this needs a type that's associated with the binding. So in here we can put string. Now you'll see that it's underlined red here, and that's because we have set this up to only be of type binding with string but it's currently undefined. So we can put an exclamation mark just before the colon to tell TypeScript this will be defined at some point before I use it. In the initialize UI function, at the parenthesis, I'm just going to add some space, and I'm going to set up my color binding here. This dot color binding equals new binding of type string, and then open brackets, and we can pass a default value here that is, I think the default value is white. So I'm going to use white because that's the same color as my panel. Let's put a semicolon at the end, and then here where we've got our background color, rather than having white in quote marks down here, I'm going to set this to this dot color binding. This means whenever color binding is updated, it should change the background color of the panel, depending on when this binding is updated. So let's update it in the onClick callback. After my console.log, I'm going to type this.colorbinding.set, and let's set it to red. Okay, now I'm going to save that. I'm going to go back to the world builder. Let's preview the world. I'm going to clear my console as well. I'm going to preview the world. At the moment, it's a white panel with a green button. I'm going to focus on this. I'm going to press the button, and it turns into a red panel, just like I hoped. Be sure to review the documentation after this tutorial to explore other custom UI nodes and interaction possibilities that we don't have time to cover today. So far, the interactions that we have covered affect all players in the world. If a player changes an image display, for example, everyone will be able to see the changes. If a player presses the button that we've just created on our panel, everyone will see the update to the background color of the panel. The Custom UI API allows you to create a personalized experience where each player sees their own version without having to duplicate the gizmo or script. This capability is essential for creating tailored experiences like personal health bars, individual inventories, or private messages that only affect a specific player's view. The Custom UI system maintains two types of values for bindings. Global values, which is what we've used so far, and this is the default that all players see unless specifically overridden, and player values, which are special values shown only to specific players. When a new player joins your world, they initially see all global values until you set player-specific values for them. The Custom UI API provides a straightforward way to create player-specific experiences, like for example, using pressable elements. What we're going to do now is we're going to change our pressable button so that it only impacts specific players. Let's go back to our code. Okay, in our initialize UI function, we have our pressable button defined here, and we have this on-click callback here. Where we have our binding, this.colorbinding.set, we can specify which players we want that binding to update for. We do this after red. I can put a comma, and here there's an optional parameter of players, and it's expecting an array of players. So I'm going to start by putting an array in there. And one other cool thing we've got here is because it's an on-click function, it actually passes the player that clicked the button as an argument in the callback. So I'm going to now take the player from that callback, I'm going to put it in this array here. So these are the same thing, this player and this player. So when a player clicks the button that we've created in our UI, it runs this callback, passing the player that clicked it as an object, and then as a player, and then this.colorbinding.set, and we're going to set it just for that player. Let's save our script, return to our world builder, just wait for the script to finish compiling. I'm going to clear a console again and enter preview mode. Let's walk up to the custom UI panel. I'm going to click press me, and it still turns red for me. And if we tested it with other people, they would see it maintaining its white background color. Each button interaction automatically tells you which player clicked it, and you can use this information to update content just for that specific player. This creates personalized experiences without duplicating UI elements. When combined with bindings, it allows you to change what each player sees. Other common techniques to control player-specific content include controlling who can see the gizmo with entity.setVisibility for players, and making the script execution local. These options are beyond the scope of this video and have their own performance implications. I encourage you to review the documentation to learn more about these approaches. The more you experiment with custom UIs, the more you'll discover new and better ways to implement them in your experiences. To continue your learning, check out the Custom UI Example world available under the Templates tab of the desktop editor. Explore the published worlds to observe how other creators are using this feature. Read through the detailed documentation in the Learn portal to master advanced techniques. Start with small, focused UI elements before building complex interfaces. And test your UIs with the Performance panel regularly, especially when targeting mobile and desktop users. Remember that a well-designed interface can transform the player experience, making your world feel more intuitive and more engaging. I hope you have fun playing with custom UI, and I look forward to seeing you in Worlds.